It was a pleasure and an honor to work with him as he chaired committees in both the House and the Senate, and we passed a lot of good legislation in the process. Cal Anderson was a friend, an advocate, and a strong representative for this district. I'm delighted that this park is named after him, and it truly is one of my favorite places. Since earliest time, people have been interested about what is in outer space? What do those stars look like? What's out there in the planets? It's a beautiful evening here in Goldendale, Washington, in the hills above the Columbia River. The sun just went down, the moon's coming up, and we're on Observation Hill looking at the newly revamped Goldendale Observatory. This is the biggest public telescope in the western United States. We own it. The citizens of Washington State, administered by our terrific Washington State Parks Department, actually own this telescope. Most telescopes don't have an eyepiece. They are more designed for cameras and for instrument use. But this one, you as an individual can step up to the telescope and see for yourself what it looks like way out there, and see what a planet looks like, perhaps what the moon looks like, or what individual stars look like. It was developed by 4 individuals many years ago in the 1960s at Clark College down in Vancouver. But they found out that the weather in Vancouver wasn't really conducive to having a telescope because of the cloud cover so many nights. And on a road trip, they came through Goldendale and decided this was the place. Our Washington State Parks program looks at this as one of the crown jewels of their many efforts to bring Washingtonians into better understanding of the world. To have a public telescope like this available to each and every citizen is quite an accomplishment. The telescope here and the observatory and the whole entire package, it's a very impressive place and one of my favorite places. When the settlers and pioneers first came in the central basin of our state, there were plenty of problems to be solved. What to plant, how to get water, what you needed to make things grow, what's the soil like? Just a myriad of questions that had to be answered. Today we look back 200 years later, 150 years, and we see all those answers right here in the Central Washington Agricultural Museum. Machinery they built, equipment they constructed, ideas they brought forward, tractors they used, every possible type of agricultural implement that you can think of. Can you imagine cutting lumber before there was a sawmill? People on the misery whip, standing one man up, one man down, cutting off each board one at a time. Almost impossible. The sawmill became a very important, innovative step forward for every community, including this one. Then there were the tools, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tools that were adapted and invented and made necessary. Every new piece of equipment brought new tools, new opportunities for tools. And the collection beyond belief is here at this facility, the Central Washington Agricultural Museum. It's amazing. And then as apple production grew, and we saw it improve and apples start to go and be known all over the world, Washington State apples. How do we sort them? How do we wash them? How do we clean them? How do we pack them? How do we not bruise them? And how do we get them to market? That story is told as well. And you can imagine, how do you spread the word? How do you talk about producing materials to tell the other farmers and other agriculturists and other people how to use these products? And that's where the printing presses came in, and they became very, very important. This is a first-class museum, the Central Washington Agriculture Museum. This is Union Gap, Washington. It's truly one of my favorite places.
Support for TVW Web Services provided by BECU, a not-for-profit credit union.
It's hard to believe that up until about 1955, most places around Puget Sound didn't have any garbage service. And a lot of people either burned their garbage in the backyard or tossed it all in the bay. There wasn't much plastic in those days, so mostly what you tossed in the bay would decompose, the seagulls would eat it, the glass would get ground up on the beach, and the tin cans would rust away. But the glass on the beach became a subject of quite a bit of interest. Over at Olympic College in Bremerton, where my brother started as an art student, Professor Mr. Blast decided to make a huge mural out of beach glass. These bottles, when they were tossed on the beach, then broke up. And there was green glass, and there was red glass, and white glass, and so forth. And we would pick up these pieces of glass. All summer long, we filled buckets, and they created this incredible mural. And it lives on today. You know, it was built up against the Math and Science building. They thought they were going to have to destroy it when they tore down the building, but some local folks rescued it, and now it's back and looks just beautiful on the campus. And if you haven't seen it, you should go see it, because it tells more than one story. It tells the story of mankind in his version, but it also tells the story of us. The fact that we used to just pollute Puget Sound with garbage and lots of bottles and cans and glass. Not anymore. And how it could be used creatively even in the 1950s. This truly is an incredible spot and one of my favorite places. Here we are on Lake Quinault on the western part of the Olympic Peninsula in the Quinault River Valley. In this valley, the Quinault River Valley, our state's largest trees and some of the largest trees in America live. The largest Sitka spruce, the largest coastal Douglas fir, the largest Alaska cedar, the largest western hemlock, and the largest mountain hemlock. It's an incredible opportunity for us here in Washington State and for visitors to our state. We are so blessed to have these mementos of our past history. This tree is 1,000 years old. 1,000 years old. Just think when Michelangelo was painting the Sistine Chapel or Christopher Columbus was looking for money to sail west in the Atlantic, this tree was already 400 years old. For Washington State residents and visitors around the world, This is an incredible location, and it's also one of my favorite places. Here we are in South Cle Elum, Roslyn Cemetery, and this is the final resting place for Doug Monroe. An incredible American hero, young man in the United States Coast Guard, received the Congressional Medal of Honor. I just can't say enough things about him. Talk about bravery. The Marines were landing at Guadalcanal. Doug was ferrying them ashore in the landing craft. The mission did not go well. The Japanese enemy had fortified the beach much beyond our capabilities, and the Marines had to turn around to try to get off the beach. As they did, they were being mowed down in the water by the Japanese machine gunners. Doug ran his landing craft between the machine gunners and the Marines to save their lives. He gave his own life to save the Marines in the water. He received the Congressional Medal of Honor posthumously, and he truly is an American hero. How lucky we are, how fortunate we are, how blessed we are that we have young men and young women in this state who are willing to put their lives on the line for America. Doug Monroe was one of those people. I have incredible respect for him. We stop here frequently to leave flowers at his grave. This truly is one of my favorite places.
There's no single silver bullet solution to our housing shortage and crisis. We cannot just do one thing and not the others. I really feel like we have to continue focusing on the 3 S's: stability, support, and stabilize. The rent stabilization bill, which limits how much a landlord can increase the rent, goes hand in hand with all of our efforts to increase the supply, because the underlying cause is not having enough housing.
First of all, rent control is not the answer. It has failed throughout the country. Ultimately, it will impact supply because the developers will not build. We need more units. We need to drive those costs down, which happens when we have that increase of supply. Look at doing different things that will help. We had what we call the tenant assistance program. It is a short-term situation which helps people bridge the gap. We have looked at a lot of those type of situations where we could redirect some existing resources.
So we first saw the potential for this atmospheric river in the middle of
Here in the beautiful Methow Valley, nestled near the banks of the Chewak River, is the little village of Winthrop. It's an incredible place. In the 1960s, this town was kind of a dead-end location. There was no highway across the Cascade Mountains. The North Cascades Highway didn't exist. But as that road came closer and closer, the people in this town got busy. The owner of the lumber mill and the town leaders got together and they said, let's convert this town and make it a real attraction, a destination. Let's make it an Old West town. And that's exactly what they did. And now people come here from all over the world. You never know what you're going to see in downtown Winthrop. It might be some people on horseback coming down from the hills to enjoy lunch. It might be a group of hay buyers from Asia here to purchase Methow Valley hay. It might be tourists from the southern states. You might even see a Cuban opera singer who works as a busboy every year to make money and take back to his family in Cuba. You never know what you're going to see in Winthrop, but it's worth the trip. Winthrop is one of my favorite places.
First order of business, Secretary will read.
TVW's first order of business? Bringing coverage of state government to you. Start to finish.
Last line, heard of committee.
And unedited. TVW is your lens on state government.
Since earliest time, people have been interested about what is in outer space? What do those stars look like? What's out there in the planets? It's a beautiful evening here in Goldendale, Washington, in the hills above the Columbia River. The sun just went down, the moon's coming up, and we're on Observation Hill looking at the newly revamped Goldendale Observatory. This is the biggest public telescope in the western United States. We own it. The citizens of Washington State, administered by our terrific Washington State Parks Department, actually own this telescope. Most telescopes don't have an eyepiece. They are more designed for cameras and for instrument use. But this one, you as an individual can step up to the telescope and see for yourself what it looks like way out there, and see what a planet looks like, perhaps what the moon looks like, or what individual stars look like. It was developed by 4 individuals many years ago in the 1960s at Clark College down in Vancouver. But they found out that the weather in Vancouver wasn't really conducive to having a telescope because of the cloud cover so many nights. And on a road trip, they came through Goldendale and decided this was the place. Our Washington State Parks program looks at this as one of the crown jewels of their many efforts to bring Washingtonians into better understanding of the world. To have a public telescope like this available to each and every citizen is quite an accomplishment. The telescope here and the observatory and the whole entire package. It's a very impressive place and one of my favorite places. It's not very often that a small town like Winthrop, Washington, with less than 500 people, can afford a first-class museum, but they've got one here, and if you haven't seen it, you should. It's called the Schaefer Museum, and they brought into this one location all kinds of equipment and household goods and old automobiles and pieces of the past from this part of the state. Here in the Methow Valley, it's probably one of the best collections of early Washington legend and lore that I've ever seen. The first Europeans that came into these valleys were trappers, and they were followed by prospectors looking for gold and silver. And then the settlers came, and they brought things like household goods and had a very difficult trip across the Columbia River and up here to the Methow. And later people arrived with the first automobiles and mechanized equipment. This community has gathered all those things and brought them together right here at the Schaefer Museum. It's an incredible collection and maybe one of the state's finest museums in many respects. It truly is one of my favorite places. most people in the state would never believe that Walla Walla used to be the biggest community in our state, and it was really the center focus for the whole territory before statehood. A thriving community here in the foothills of the Blue Mountains, incredible agricultural, beautiful scenery, just a wonderful place to visit. In 1971, I was here in Walla Walla and I was walking down the street. I went into the Baker Boyer Bank, which is the oldest bank in the state of Washington. And I was talking to the bank president, and he had books piled all over his office. At that time, this valley was known for its wheat and lentils and peas and a wide variety of agricultural products. I looked at him and I said, what are all these books about? And he said, I'm trying to determine who brought grapes to this valley first. I think grapes would be an incredible product for us to grow. And here we are today, just 40, 50 years later, everywhere in the Walla Walla Valley, grape growers. The finest grapes in the United States, maybe in the world, here in Walla Walla. Walla Walla has to be one of my favorite places. You know, if you ask the average citizen in Washington State about our defense industry and where our locations are, they'll tell you about McChord, or they might mention Fort Lewis or one of the major bases around the state, but hardly anybody knows about Jim Creek. And here we are high in the Cascade Mountains, where one of our most important facilities is located. Started in the 1940s and been upgraded many times since then. This is where we communicate to our military all over the world through an antenna and radio system that's still used today. It's the major communication effort that our military has, and it's located right here in Northwest Washington. The Navy not only protects us, but it's also protected some of the biggest trees in our state. The stump behind me is just one example of something that was logged before the Navy got here. But high in these hills, they've also protected some of our finest old-growth forest. This is Jim Creek, and it is one of my favorite places.
First order of business, Secretary will read.
TVW's first order of business. Bringing coverage of state government to you. Start to finish.
Last line for the committee.
And unedited. TVW is your lens on state government.
Here we are on Lake Quinault on the western part of the Olympic Peninsula in the Quinault River Valley. In this valley, the Quinault River Valley, our state's largest trees and some of the largest trees in America live. The largest Sitka spruce, the largest coastal Douglas fir, the largest Alaska cedar, the largest western hemlock, and the largest mountain hemlock. It's an incredible opportunity for us here in Washington State and for visitors to our state. We are so blessed to have these mementos of our past history. This tree is 1,000 years old. 1,000 years old. Just think when Michelangelo was painting the Sistine Chapel or Christopher Columbus was looking for money to sail west in the Atlantic, this tree was already 400 years old. For Washington State residents and visitors around the world, this is an incredible location, and it's also one of my favorite places.
Well, the fundamental issue in housing in our state is this just severe shortage, and what it leads to is cutthroat competition for a limited resource. Absence of affordable housing leads to increased homelessness. It leads to increased costs, not just to buy a home, but also to rent, because if people can't buy, they stay renting. If they stay renting, occupancies go up. If occupancies go up, then rents go up.
When I first moved out here, I was living in my car. The rent is so expensive out here. I could not believe the prices. And I'm like, my job could not afford it. I can handle it by myself, but my kids have to go through that in the cold, you know, cramped up in the car. I was even searching for regular houses where I can pay rent, but couldn't afford them. So I just kept searching for a low-income housing. Finally, I got a call back from this place.
Bernie Whitebear was the first person that ever talked to me about urban Indians. We spent time together on the streets of Seattle, and he would say to me, Ralph, these people need a home. They need someplace they can go and they know they're safe and they can gather and sometimes get received.
Everyone, my name is Peter Donovan. I'm the mayor of the city of Mount Vernon. Was thinking this morning how this really has been, well, it's been quite a week, but it has been a week of contrasts. What a contrast, first of all, this weather is from the storm that brought us record flooding this week. And what a contrast this feeling of a little bit of relief compared to the anxiety us were feeling Tuesday night when we got those early river. And also what a contrast this flood preparation event has been compared to how we used to prepare for floods right here in the past in the city of Mount Vernon. The wall behind us has changed everything. It has changed our flood fighting logistics, where we used to call for hundreds of volunteers to rush down here at a moment's notice and fill sandbags, build our own makeshift sandbag wall right here to save the downtown. We now deploy this 1.4-mile wall in about 12 hours using our own city employees. This wall protects 225 buildings in our downtown. It lifts all of them out of FEMA's 100-year floodplain, and it saves our residents and our businesses over 40% in their insurance expenses. Downtown Mount Vernon stayed dry this week, but more importantly, downtown Mount Vernon residents were saved again, and downtown businesses were saved again. Downtown business owner Sheena Wilson is here today. She owns Bloom Floral on 1st Street. Sheena has witnessed firsthand what an integral part of our downtown this flood wall has become. As I walked downtown yesterday, several folks went out of their way to thank the city of Mount Vernon for this investment. But I think all of us here are just extremely grateful for this infrastructure and for the unified effort that it took between local and state and federal governments to actually make this infrastructure a reality. I'm grateful to Senator Murray, who championed the initial study and found the funding to get this project off of the ground. Thank you for being here with us today. With this wall defending us in our background, residents of Mount Vernon were freed up this week to do what Skagitonians do best, to reach out, to help each other, and to lift each other up in this difficult time. It has really been an amazing thing to witness. And I say that with enthusiasm, but it's enthusiasm that is tempered by the reality that we still have Skagitonians who can't go back to their homes this morning. It's tempered by the fact that we are not in the clear yet. There's more rain on the way. This flood fight continues, and we have some pretty amazing folks in Skagit County and in the city of Mount Vernon who continue to support those efforts. And so they are here and available if you want to ask questions about the flood fight. Our local Mount Vernon EOC Incident Commander, Fire Chief Brian Harris, is here today. Our EOC Operations Lead, our Public Works Director, Chris Phillips, is also here today. They can answer questions about the flood wall and about local flood fighting in the city of Mount Vernon. We also have the Skagit County Department of Emergency Management here and available for questions today as well. I will step aside and let you ask those questions.
Questions from the media? Where do things stand right now, and what's in store? I should ask, what's in store for next week, and what's your message to Washington Countyans?
I think the best answer to that is no. Who knows what's coming?
All right, I'm Reed Wolcott, Warning Coordination Meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Seattle. The bottom line is we're not done. You know, this event is basically partway through at this point in time. While today is a nice sunny day up here in beautiful Skagit County, we are looking forward towards the next event. We have additional rainfall, another atmospheric river on the way. It is expected to bring significant rainfall once again to the headwaters of the Skagit River and up and down the Cascades. That will bring another round of flood. Specifically for the Skagit River, we're looking at anywhere between 4 and 7 inches of additional rainfall in the mountains. That's expected to bring the rivers up to at least moderate flood stage once again, if not over major flood stage. The high-end scenarios bring it up to near where it crested yesterday morning, just after midnight. One of the big reasons for this is the rainfall that we had before filled the dams upstream. So they're emptying as fast as they can, but there is not a lot of space up there for additional rainfall, which means that we can't hold back that much water. So it doesn't take as much rainfall to cause the level of flooding that we saw the other day. And again, while the most likely scenario is not as significant as we saw, it is still well within the range of possibilities that we end up right back where we were yesterday morning. In addition to that, we're looking at this next system bringing in much stronger winds. We didn't really see a ton of wind with the last one. We're looking at a 75% chance of at least 45-mile-per-hour gusts, about a 50% chance of gusts over 50. That's significant. Doesn't sound significant because we deal with that kind of wind here in the Northwest all the time. But as you may have seen as you've driven around the region, we are completely saturated. There are still trees submerged. Soils are extremely loose. It does not take 50-mile-an-hour winds to knock over trees, cause power outages, fall onto vehicles, houses, etc. That is a significant concern as response efforts go on. And not only the safety of the people who live here, but the safety of the people who are responding to this disaster. As we move forward into next week, we're fortunate that conditions begin to cool. We are looking at snow levels starting to drop to 2,000 feet, say, by Wednesday, 1,500 feet by Friday. That will shut off the majority of the potential for additional flooding in the extended forecast, but it does bring additional complications. Our mountain locations like Marble Mount, New Halem, etc., we can have cold air settle in those locations, and it may start to snow. That will also hamper response and recovery efforts in those areas. It's not, again, it may not be the most likely scenario, but it is well within the realm of possibility and is another cascading potential impact with this event that will make response and recovery very challenging. So, bottom line, we are not done. We're not out of the woods with this particular event. We're halfway through. And we will be here at the National Weather Service with our River Forecast Center, the local forecast office. Our region, our national headquarters are fully behind this. We have support coming in from all over the country. I personally have been up here at the Skagit County EOC for the last 4 days. I have relief that is actually relieving me today. I feel very fortunate in that, coming up from Salt Lake and from the Bay Area. My counterparts at those offices are here to provide support so that I can take a little bit of a break and start coming back here once again once we have our next round of flooding. So again, I'm very grateful for the support of everybody that you see here, the emergency management, our leadership, everybody who's involved in this response. We could not do it without you, and we thank you very much.
Senator Murray, being a champion of this flood wall since its inception, what are you feeling now seeing it at work this week?
It is really incredible. I was trouncing in knee-deep water. Well, it would come up to the mayor's ankles, but for me, it was knee-deep water 20 years ago in a horrific flood we had, and to now come back and know that the businesses that I saw, business owners with tears in their eyes because they lost so much of their merchandise and had to recover, are now safe. And that this investment in this wall really made a difference for this community in lives and dollars and businesses in this community. It's a really good example of showing you preventive infrastructure makes a difference.
A question for Julie. Do we have any numbers on the number of injuries, rescues, buildings flooded?
Yes, we have had over 20 rescues. In fact, we had a rescue this morning. It may even be more than that. That 20 is just what we're counting in the EOC. Each of our city jurisdictions, town jurisdictions, they might be doing additional rescues. We're starting to put all that picture together on this sunny day. We have a moment to collect all that information. Thankfully, no deaths to report, no fatalities. But really, it's been the rescues, and it's been rescues from people who either didn't evacuate, couldn't evacuate, or are just being plain silly and driving through floodwaters when they shouldn't. Yep.
The Department of Fish and Wildlife Swiftwater Rescue, is that included in the EOC?
I believe, yes, we do have DNR and Fish and Wildlife in the EOC, so yes, we've included those.
And then just to zoom out on your question, which I appreciate about the number of rescues, that's been asked, I think, the last couple times we've had events like this. So I did ask our state EOC team what numbers they have currently for statewide, the number of emergency rescues. The number they report to me this morning, which I think is current as of last night, is about 250. Obviously, the number is likely more than that. That's based on reports that have come into them, but they believe about 250. And so that's a significant number, obviously, here, but in multiple counties, of course, are facing a similar situation. Again, it goes without saying we deeply appreciate all the first responders. The senators and I had a chance to meet with many of those first responders in Monroe, where we were earlier, and of course here today, and we just deeply appreciate them putting themselves in harm's way to rescue folks who really desperately need it.
Governor, statewide, do you have any stats as far as injuries or deaths?
So statewide, what you just heard is true statewide in terms of deaths. I mean, I think our prayers are certainly been answered so far, in some ways remarkably so. I just have to say that right now we have no reported deaths that have come in to the state central emergency system. And as far as we know at this time, no what I would describe as significant injuries. And so that is, we're just deeply grateful for that. And it's a credit to the first responders, to the whole community all around the state that have just been there, the coordination. I've said before, but I'll say it again, I ask wherever I go, hey, do you need more resources when I'm talking to first responders or local elected officials? And the response has always been, no, we've got what we need. And so that's a sign that good communication is going on all across the state amongst tribes, local jurisdictions, community partners. You get the idea. And so, and obviously a little bit of luck. Those floodwaters right here in the Skagit could easily have been 3, 4, 5, even 6 feet higher than they were. And so we feel fortunate.
Governor, you spoke yesterday about the FEMA declaration response that's coming in. Yeah. Have you talked with Secretary Noem about what kind of aid Washington will be receiving over the next couple of days and when they're expected to be on ground?
Sure. So I did speak with Secretary Noem. Thank you. Yesterday, yes, thank you. Yesterday morning, that's right. It was yesterday morning. And thank you, Senator. And I'll just say what I said earlier. She was very, very gracious. I just want to start with that. The way I would describe the call is what every Washingtonian would want from a cabinet member calling a governor about a real crisis in their state. She was gracious. She was kind. She asked how we were doing as a state. So we had a very productive conversation. As you might imagine, I expressed my great thanks to her for the declaration. In a nutshell, what we have right now, and the senators can speak to this because they're very experienced in these as well, so I'll defer to them, but is for the short term, dealing with rescues, clearing debris, that type of emergent needs that we have right now across many counties. They are here, they're staged, they're working with the partners you see here. So that is going on. That is separate from the next conversation after we dig ourselves out of this, which is seeking relief, financial support for what will undoubtedly be a very, very, speaking financially, costly event for individuals, businesses, our state, local governments. You get the idea. But I'll also ask the senators if they want to add to that as well.
I think that's a really important distinction. The emergency declaration that was done yesterday, thankfully, will help with some of the immediate issues. But what has to happen now, and it always takes so long, is that the governor has to send out all of his teams to do an assessment. And we have a very big state with a lot of different regions that have been impacted, from homes to businesses to roads. You listed all of it. Put that all together and then request emergency funding from FEMA for the future. Could be months away before all of that is put in place. And I know that's hard for people who are trying to get back in their home or worried about what they're going to do next. But it does take time to do that. Once that happens, Senator Cantwell and I and the delegation will have to work really hard to make sure the administration funds the requests that the state puts in.
I think the key thing is now when you're dealing with an emergency, the things that we really want is we want with evacuations to have shelter. We just saw in Snohomish County the Red Cross and the facility that's setting up there. But when FEMA comes into the picture, those shelters are more supported and have more resources available to them. And that's very important because this is in many parts of our state. Secondly, we need their help in clearing these roads. And we have some very big economic drivers to our state. When you think about a border crossing at Sumas and you think about Highway 2 and its economic impact, Highway 12, we will need their help in trying to stabilize those situations. And then if we are going to see future evacuations, I want to thank the National Guard. They've done a great job. They've responded well, but they can help in that, and we saw some more, I think, flexibility in how those resources were being deployed because the FEMA is showing up.
If I can just add one last thing, is I'm deeply grateful to the 2 U.S. senators who are here who supported, and that's an understatement, the request. There are a lot of conversations and things going behind the scenes to get that emergency declaration, as you might imagine, and by extension to the entire congressional delegation. Every member of that delegation signed a letter of support. That was a bipartisan effort. So a lot of conversations, a lot of effort went into communicating as clearly and persuasively as possible to the federal government, to the administration, just how dire the situation has been here and will continue to be. And so I just appreciate all those voices that have come together, but especially the two senators who are here today.
We have time for one more question.
Is there anything in particular with this last weather event that you found this area did really well that you would recommend to other agencies within cities and counties, or moving forward, do you think there needs to be any modifications to this learning from this last weather event?
I can't tell you, every place that we've been so far, there is almost a kumbaya moment in the notion that everybody worked together, first in the preparation and planning, and then in the execution and cooperation. And so we're hearing that everywhere. But I want to shout out, you heard the NOAA forecaster, and I think that that's what we need to communicate to preparedness across the nation. We do see fires, we do see floods, we do see hurricanes, we see tornadoes, but if a community doesn't know what those events and the damage can do, and look at what Senator Murray and the mayor was able to do here at the last 2021, whatever year the flood was able to then build this seawall that protects this community. So I am sure there are other parts of our state that need a similar infrastructure. I'm sure there are other parts of the country, but it starts with that weather forecasting, having the best weather forecasting, having those people translate that days, if not weeks in advance. And that's the key thing, is to have it weeks in advance if you can, and then everybody else goes into action. And I think that's what we've learned here. Give the community the tools, and the community will respond.
Yeah, I would just add, and Maria said it right, I think what we have seen this week is just a real amazing amount of people and agencies who've come out to work together side by side. Doesn't matter political persuasion, region, wherever. From FEMA to NOAA to our National Guard to Red Cross folks to all of our first responders, just in every community, coming together as friends and neighbors to make sure that everyone is okay. And that is a huge plus for the state of Washington. And we're going to have to keep that as we move forward over the coming days. I think one of the things we've heard, and I want to share with all of you, is that as great as this sunny day is, that some of the hardest times are coming as people assess roads that may have buckled and they have to be repaired, or families that cannot get back into their mobile home that's been destroyed, or communities that have lost resources that we don't even know about today. And we have to stay together, all of us working together, local, state, and federal, to make sure we're here for them in the long run. And that's, I think, something that we're all really understanding. And for everybody out there, don't assume everything is safe. Do not assume that a road is safe. If the first responders tell you don't go down that road, don't go down that road. So I think that's an important message for everyone today as well.
And just the last thing I'll add to that question, which I appreciate is an important one, is we were in King County yesterday and heard a briefing from King County officials. One thing they emphasized was, King County has a flood district that was created back in, I think, 2007. I remember back on the council, but they talked about the hundreds of millions of dollars of investments to prevent floods that King County, as one example, has made over those years, and how they made it very, very clear, had it not been for those investments, the situation in King County would have been far, far worse. So I think there are lessons there. On the drive here from Monroe, I called up my chief of staff, Shane, and said, hey, Shane, put on your calendar February 1st to have a conversation about what lessons did we learn from this. As successful as it has been, and it has been by any fair measure, tremendously successful in terms of response, I suspect, hey, you can always improve, and there will be other disasters. And so I just said, let's bookmark that, get folks together like the folks here, let's have a conversation. Once we dig out from this, move forward, let's have that conversation. We can always improve and look forward to that. And just lastly, I think, just echo, Senator, what you were saying is, the coming weeks and months will be, tremendously stressful for so many Washingtonians. That's putting it, very mildly. Have you seen the videos, homes literally floating down the river? I mean, I don't have words for an individual who's going through, or a family who's going through something like that, and that's just one of thousands of situations. So, for those Washingtonians, we are united. We're here for them. We'll do everything in our power with all the partners we have to be there for them in the really challenging days that are ahead for them and for our state. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks, Senator. Good to see you.
All right.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Go Cougs.